The time,
I'm right about something?
absolutely. The right is right, and you are right to criticize the extended period.
Gavin Newsom, who now has a podcast because clearly he's doing such a bang-up job as governor, he has nothing else to do but start a podcast. And he's been putting on these right-wingers. He had Charlie Kirk on, he had Steve Bannon on, he had Michael Savage on. We are in touch with his people. We'll see if it happens. But here he is with Steve Bannon. And it's interesting because he's bringing these people on to basically get smacked around. Take a look.
Well, and I appreciate the notion of agency, that we're not bystanders in the world. It's decisions, not conditions, that determine our fate and future. And that fundamental notion of agency, I think, is important more broadly. And I think that goes to some of the issues around, victimization. And I see a lot of that, respectively, on the right, increasingly, even with Trump often approaching things from that sort of mindset.
What do you mean? What do you mean for Trump?
I think there's sort of the grievance narrative that comes from Trump. This notion there is sort of a victim.
Well, they did try to put him in prison for 300 years, right? They did try to bankrupt him.
Well, that's
if a guy had ever had a set of grievances, they did steal, according to us, and we're firm believers, the 2020 election, which I think worked out better. That providentially that he was able to come back with that gap, because I think you're seeing a much more not just new and improved, but somebody that's much more in command of these decisions and really stepping up in a way that we could have never done before.
All right, so there's a lot with this guy. First off, the body language, I don't know what's going on. Everything about him is just so freaking fake. But do you give him some credit here for sitting down with these people and airing these things where he does not come off looking good? I mean, I think you can objectively say that. And he's even getting hit by the left-wing media for sitting down with right-wing people. So he's got right-wing people on, they're smacking him this way, and then the left-wing media is smacking him this way for sitting down with those people.
You know what, Dave? I actually don't find this funny or entertaining at all. I find it alarming. And here's why. Because I think he's doing what the Democrats actually need to be doing and aren't. And I'll give you an example. Mm-hmm. First of all, he's sitting down with the other side. The left notoriously does not do that. They refuse to engage in conversation. Even if you look at RFK, which is right in my wheelhouse, Kamala wouldn't even sit down with him.
Yep.
So
Jake Tapper banned him from his show.
Perfect example. Then, in addition to that, he's stepping away from some of this crazy woke ideology on the left and even admitted that it's unfair to have biological males in sports alongside biological females, which is something I've said, listen, if you want to run for president as a Democrat in the next election for 28, you're going to need to call out this craziness and take the side of 80% of the country on these social issues. He's doing that. Why do I find this alarming? Because this man is a sociopath. He has one North Star, and it's power. Yeah. As he sits here and does show after show after show, using Republicans, because that's exactly what he's doing, to try to make himself look more moderate, having them ultimately platform him, because we're talking about him right now. I can tell you that Pacific Coast Highway is still in absolute shambles. And 6 weeks later, not one thing has been cleaned up. And in fact, my kids are not in school today still because of the state of Pacific Coast Highway, because it sprinkled yesterday. And he does podcast after podcast after podcast. So this concerns me. And I actually wish Republicans wouldn't go on his show, because it gives him a huge audience.
Let's just show one other clip from the show, because again, he's bringing on people who are beating him senseless, and, his fake teeth and slicked hair aside, I think people see through it. Take a look.
Why does it take so many months or days to count the ballots in California? A month. India, 1 day to count 640 million votes. Germany, 8 hours to count 50 million votes. Yep. Argentina, 6 hours to count 27 million votes. California, 4 weeks to count 16 million votes.
It's ridiculous.
Why?
It's ridiculous. It's because and by the way, we've been having this conversation enough. And first of all, we believe that every vote counts. So we want to make sure every vote is counted because of the provisional ballots, the fact we do all mail-in ballots, the fact that we have such huge investments in making sure that we increase that outreach. We want to make sure, again, every vote counts. But you're right.
I'm right about something?
Absolutely. The right is right, and you are right to criticize the extended period.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Gav, do you know who the governor is?
He doesn't take responsibility for anything, though, Dave. He never has. So again, he's like, isn't this crazy? These are the things on the left you don't like that I'm going to stop. And I just personally, we've seen this guy come out of these conversations, no matter how beaten up he gets, and he manages to parlay it into greater popularity points. We've seen him in these conversations with Hannity previously. We've now seen him on his own podcast, and I just think it's dangerous. I think this is going to win him a ton of brownie points. I think the goal for him is to say to the independents, because he knows where these elections are now won, like, listen, I'm willing to sit down with the other side. Look how moderate I am. I'm willing to call balls and strikes. I mean, this is the strategy that it will take for a Democrat to rise. And he's bucking his own party, which is what needs to be done. If he was actually a decent governor, I would see this as hopeful, because we do need more than one party, obviously. But I think he is a horrendous governor and a frightful human being.
Did you know scammers can literally steal your home right out from under you? The FBI calls it house stealing, and it's one of the fastest growing real estate scams in America. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on a single document, slap on a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee, and file it with the local recorder's office. Just like that, your home title is no longer in your name. From there, they can take out massive loans using your equity as collateral, or even sell your home without you ever knowing. You'll only find out when you start getting collection notices, or worse, getting a foreclosure warning. That's why I trust Home Title Lock. Their $1 million triple lock protection is the most effective way to keep your home and equity safe. And here's the best part. I've teamed up with Home Title Lock to give you a free title history report so you can find out if you've already been targeted, plus access to your own personal title expert. That's a $250 value, completely free, just for signing up. Go to HomeTitleLock.com and use my promo code Rubin250, or just click the link in the description. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Rubin250 for the protection and peace of mind you deserve.